go.
All right, guys, check it out. We have all probably heard about the cash flow quadrants, right? The quadrants. But I'm going to bring it to you guys in a way that you have never heard it, okay? I'll make this very simple so that it makes sense, so that you know exactly what and what not to do. All right, let's begin. For those of you guys who don't know, this is the cash flow quadrant, all right? It goes E-S-B-I. Let's start off with what they mean. E is for employee, S is for sole proprietor, B is meant for big business, and then I is for investor, okay? So let's kind of put these characters in motion. E could be you, your mom, your granny, your uncle working for John Deere or whoever else. S could be that small business owner, normally like an accountant, a digital marketer who's a solo, okay? Basically someone who either has few employees or no employees at all. B is for bigger businesses. This is think about like the Facebooks of the world, Amazon, Coca-Cola, et cetera, normally publicly traded companies mainly. And then I is actually for the investors, okay? So this is how this whole thing works. In this part, we're gonna talk about just two things, okay? Two things. Those two things are gonna be leverage and tax liability. And on the next part, you're gonna have to figure out, you'll have to listen for the next few things, okay? Let's start off with leverage. Believe it or not, leverage helps disassociate or take away someone's risk, okay? Now, when we dive more into leverage, your average employee has less access to leverage, In other words, if you want to buy a house, an FHA mortgage or conventional mortgage, you, the employee, are typically the individual responsible for that debt. You have a higher amount of risk and a lower amount of leverage. You're going to have to be leveraged based on your individual income. Hope that makes sense. Now, small business owner, they're leveraged still on their individual income. Big business and investor. A big business has more leverage than a small employee or a small business owner. Reason being is that they have more employees and they have more income. Because they have more employees, they're able to have more leverage, okay? More employees equals more leverage. More employees equals more leverage. And then the greatest amount of leverage is actually the investors. Investors get to have all of the leverage with no risk, okay? All the leverage with no risk. Let's think about this for a quick second. When you read in the news that a company files bankruptcy, right? Matter of fact, let's go any further. A couple years ago, under former President Obama, Hostess went bankrupt, right? The guys who make Twinkies, they went bankrupt. Remember, they had a huge bailout. They had a large production office in Chicago where they made just tons of Twinkies, and they were going to cut all their employees, okay? So as leverage, the business was going to cut their employees. What ended up happening? Well, the government bailed them out, and the big business guys, the CEOs, the executives, they all receive bonuses to leave or vacate their seats. So basically, they got fired, but they had like a $2, $3, $4 million bonus to get fired. If that makes any sense. The investors actually took all the proceeds, okay? So that's what we're talking about when we say leverage. The investors took all the proceeds, leverage, boom. Number two, tax liability. The reason that a bigger business has more leverage, one of the reasons is because they have more employees. And if you've ever been an employee, a W-2 employee, when you get your paycheck, it says Social Security, says your state tax, maybe your county tax, God forbid a city tax, Social Security, all these other things, right? Well, these taxes equate to somewhere between 30 to 40% on average, all right? And you also get something that there is called tax withholdings, Who gets to hold that money? The big business and the investors, all right? Check us out on part 2 to find out why that is.